Hey guys, this is Tauna and it is 2 a.m. and I am here to share with you the new commander changes that are coming. So these are live as of right now. A little bit of background. Wizards of the Coast has command of the commander format now. Similar to before, Gavin is running a panel essentially of different people from across the world, including one of my friends, Attack on Cardboard here, who kind of are making decisions to kind of help shape the future of the format. Very similar to before, but this time we're like officially under Wizards of the Coast kind of rules essentially. They are making some changes based off of basically feedback that they've got from people, as well as how they've kind of gone through and assessed the different banned cards. So this is going to be essentially them unbanning some very nice cards that people will potentially see use for. I know there's definitely one on here that I've gone and picked up some copies of immediately because I'm very excited for it to be unbanned. So with the new kind of bracket system, there's essentially like a kind of restricted list, right? You can only have so many game changes depending on which bracket your deck is. And as you add more game changes, your deck will slowly change up in brackets. So, you've got bracket 3, bracket 4, etc. Bracket 3, you've got your 3 game changes that you can have in there. Bracket 4, you've got essentially unlimited game changes. And then bracket 5 is CEDH. So obviously unlimited game changes there as well. So all of these unbanned cards are going to go onto this game changes list that is kind of, as I say, kind of restricting how many you can have based off of, and then you can sit down at the table and be like, hey, my deck's a bracket 3, these are the game changes, or however you kind of want to go about it. So these cards that are all being unbanned are either cards that have, fond memories associated with them. They contribute to positive play patterns. So, if a card is too restrictive and too negative towards how the game plays, obviously that's very unlikely to kind of see bans, to see an unban there. And there are also cards that don't create runaway games or negative play patterns. So, games that are going to essentially turn into someone just sitting there playing with their own deck as you're kind of sitting there watching, is not what they're kind of looking for here. So they've gone and unbanned a whole bunch of really nice cards that I assume people are going to be looking at picking up straight away. So the first one here is Gifts Ungiven, and this is the one that I picked up straight away because I'm very, very excited for it. This is a very interesting kind of fact or fiction style deck. You're going to, card. You're going to go through your deck. You're going to tutor up 4 different cards with different names, and you're going to reveal them all. And then one opponent is going to choose 2 of them. They're going to go into your graveyard, and then the rest will go into your hand. So I kind of wish that, first of all, that the opponent would put them into piles, because that would be a lot better for my Celestial Toymaker deck. But this is obviously very powerful card, right? Like, people are going to tutor up their win cons. As long as you've got, the 4 cards here that you could potentially use for your win cons, it's going to be very strong. If you've got ways to be able to recur things as well, that makes it even stronger. There is a whole bunch of ways that this can potentially kind of run away with a game. However, in like a CEDH level kind of gameplay and that kind of level of deck, like you're looking to kind of win and get your combos all out and stuff, this is going to be right kind of at home with it. Like, the previous concern was around power and like the time intensiveness of going through tutoring up your 4 cards. But if you're playing this kind of card, then you're more likely to know exactly what you're kind of looking through there. And people who you're versing are more likely to be aware that you could potentially be running it and potentially kind of go through and get all your combos off and everything. So it's not quite as bad as it used to be when they kind of initially banned it, but they are kind of aware that it could be quite strong. So hence why it is staying on the game changes list, just getting kind of the unban here. Next up, we've got Sway of the Stars. So this is a 10 mana reset the game level card. Each person's going to shuffle all of their hand, graveyard, and all their permanents back into their deck. That means all your lands, all your other stuff that's out. So similar to Worldfire, which was unbanned in Commander, and still isn't huge. Like, Worldfire is not shaping the meta or, destroying casual games or anything. In fact, there's that Cruel Claw deck that people love that runs Worldfire and stuff. There's a lot more ways that you can potentially win the game with 10 mana nowadays. So, or they have, just huge game warping ways to be able to interact with the table and everything. So 10 mana to kind of reset everything isn't quite as bad as it used to be. And there's a lot more kind of counterspellish kind of mana that people can potentially have up to be able to make sure this doesn't happen. If you guys are liking this content so far, we talk about instant speed news. This came out, an hour and a half ago or something like that. And the only reason it's not coming out, this video is not coming out sooner, is because, unfortunately, it came out sooner than I thought it was going to. If you like that kind of content and stuff, keeping up to date, make sure you subscribe. We've got Braid's Cabal Minion. So there's a lot of nostalgia around this card. But, it's obviously going to potentially lock people out of the game because of the fact that each person needs to sacrifice either an artifact, creature, or land at the beginning of their upkeep. So they can be creating some huge kind of issues for people with that and everything. But there is so much more single target removal than there used to be. People are able to actually stop this thing, get it off the table and everything. Nowadays, there's also just so many different artifacts, like tokens that people can be running, like treasures or clues and stuff, that you're going to be spinning those out all the time, that having an option like Braids out isn't quite as bad because you have like those tokens that you could potentially get rid of. But there's just a lot more removal and a lot more ways to be able to stop Braids than there used to be. And if you sit down at the table and someone's got Braids in their deck, you know that you're able to potentially stop it, and you can keep an eye out for it. We've got Coalition Victory. So Coalition Victory is 8 mana essentially to win the game, as long as you control each basic land type and a creature of each color. So if you have a 5-color commander, as long as you've got your 5-color commander out and you've got all those basic land types, which is very easy to do, you win the game. As long as you cast this. But obviously you need to cast it. There's 8 mana. You need to untap on the start of your turn with 8 mana out and your commander out. It's not going to happen very often. It's going to be like one of those big, I win the game and this is very fun kind of things. There is just so much more interaction, again, with either people's commanders out or being able to counter it and stuff. And it's going to, as I said, kind of take a while to get to. It's in the time frame of games ending for higher end matches, that bracket 4, bracket 5 kind of thing. So now they can kind of, add ways, like you've got ways to be able to potentially stop this going off. And I think that it's going to be feeling more like a, that was a really cool, awesome play, rather than like that just kind of came out of nowhere thing. We've got Panoptic Mirror. So this is obviously like imprinting. So you're going to pay X, tap it, and then you're going to remove a card, instant or sorcery from your hand that costs X. From the game, like exile it. So that gets imprinted onto this Panoptic Mirror. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, you're going to get to cast that spell, copy the spell, and then cast it for free. Copy the card and then cast it for free. So again, obviously infinite turns is going to be the big thing here, but there's just so many different ways to be able to answer artifacts now that is not quite as bad. And if someone manages to get this out, then tap, put an infinite turn spell underneath it, and then it doesn't get interacted with. Nowadays, that's more of a, you needed to have stopped this beforehand. You know what's going to happen. You know what's coming. You just need to make sure that, if you're up there in that kind of area where people can have this as a game changer, you need a way to be able to stop it. And you want to make sure that you've got ways to be able to interact with it. So, they also talk briefly about Docid, Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Crypt. Said, they're not unbanning at the time. They're open to it in the future, but they're just not touching it. Jeweled Lotus is the one that's most likely, and there's no further changes for the rest of the year to anything, right? Like they're going to keep it basically the way it is for the rest of the year, review it, and then kind of make changes after that. So they said, they're open to changing these in the future with these 3, but not currently. And I know that there is so much debate about them because people are like, if they change it and unban it, then those people who threatened kind of won. And it's kind of a hard thing. Like, they win either way, I think. So yeah, we'll see as to how that ends up going. We got Gavin then went into some other cards. So first of all, he made like a short list of things that will very likely never get unbanned. So these were the ones that were like, no, from what I could tell, no, very unlikely, never getting unbanned because they're just too strong or just don't make sense for Commander. And then he went into some ones that could potentially see unbanned. So the ones I'm showing here are the ones that he essentially put down as likely could see unbanned. So not necessarily will be, but they're more likely to be. The other ones that are not either on that previous list or on this list were ones that were like, they are not likely to get unbanned anytime soon, while these ones are more likely to get unbanned. The other ones were like unlikely that they'll ever get unbanned, but there is a future where they could potentially, with changes potentially to either the unban, like the way the game changes work, the way the brackets work, or the way the game works. So Biorhythm, we got Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. So these were ones that he said that, you know, could see unbanned potentially, just not currently. Iona, which I think would be, I don't know about Iona getting unbanned. That one's pretty annoying. We got Lutri. So Lutri, he said that for this one to get unbanned, it's more likely they have a unbanned in the 99 or game changer in the 99, otherwise banned. We've got Primeval Titan here. And that's it. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.